So I am going to give just a little bit of a background on the playwright, William Shakespeare. He was born and died on his birthday, April 23rd, which I think is a really interesting fact. He lived until he was 52 years old, and he introduced almost 3,000 words to the English language and used over 7,000 of those words only once in his plays. He wrote close to 1/10 of the most quoted lines ever written or spoken in English, and he is the second most quoted writer in the English language. He had 7 siblings and 3 children, and there are more than 90 variations recorded for the spelling of his name. His plays are made up of a total of 884,429 words, and he wrote 37 plays and 154 works that we know of. So, the play that I chose to use by him is entitled Much Ado About Nothing. And this play is set in Messina, a port on the island of Sicily, which is next to the toe of Italy. And Sicily was ruled by Aragon at the time that the play was set. And the action of the play mainly takes place at the home of the grounds of Leonato's estate. So just a little bit of the plot action that happens throughout the play. So basically, there are multiple main characters, but 4 of them make up the main point of the plot. So there is Beatrice and Hero, who are cousins, and 2 gentlemen, soldiers, Benedick and Claudio. And Benedick and Beatrice kind of go way back. They always had this relationship of like a witty banter, this like hatred for each other, but like in a teasing manner. And Claudio has known of Hero, but when he comes back from war and sees her again after such a long time, he falls instantly in love with her. So they plan on getting married. And then Beatrice and Benedick continue in their witty banter, but during the week before the marriage, the friends of Beatrice and Benedick all plan on making them fall in love with each other or realizing their actual love for each other. And so as we see the play go on, there's a villain, and he is definitely trying to make trouble amongst everyone. He is the son of Don Pedro, who is a friend of Claudio and Benedick, and he is the illegitimate brother, so I think that his just living just makes him be bitter towards everyone and bitter towards the world. So he decides to concoct this plan to ruin the wedding of Claudio and Hero, and he makes it seem as though Hero has been unfaithful to him. And Claudio, in an outrage, decides to humiliate Hero in front of her friends and family on their wedding day. And at the altar, he exclaims that she's not a virgin, she's been cheating on him, and her family, in order to maintain her innocence and maintain her, just to keep her hidden, they decide to make it seem as though she's died. And so Claudio and the rest of the cast all discover that Don John is the one behind all of this, and he's been the villain in this, and he made up this story, and so they grieve the fake death of Hero. But then, to appease her father, Claudio decides to marry her supposed cousin. But when he gets to the altar, he realizes that it's actually Claudio that he's marrying, or actually Hero that he's marrying, and she didn't die, and happily ever after. And then at the wedding, during the dancing, there's actually this union of love between Benedick and Beatrice, and they also get married as well. So the comedy ends with a very happy ending. So that's the plot outline of the story, and I've included a comic strip in my outline that you can kind of look into. It's very, very interesting the way that they set that up. So enjoy that. And so then, just to give a little bit of some background on the problems that I found in the play. So one of them is more of a problem if you were producing this, or if you were making a movie, or if you were putting it on stage, or even doing a dramatic reading. But the problem that I identified was Beatrice is there, and Hero and Ursula are aware that she's there in the scene that I read, that video I included in this as well. So Beatrice is there listening in on this conversation. She's in the garden, and Ursula and Hero know that she is, but she's hidden. So, like, figuring out that context, like, where do we put her? Like, how do we make her seen by the audience and not seen by make it seem that she's not seen by Ursula and Hero, but they actually know she's there. So that's a problem that I identified. Another problem is in the scene at the very beginning, there's a portion where Hero and Ursula are having this conversation, and Beatrice has already entered. And then they jump into the conversation that they've disguised as Benedict actually loves her. So, like, that jumping of, like, Beatrice is here, and then they jump into the conversation, but they've had a conversation beforehand. There's this awkward break. If you were doing a production of it, you could very well, like, have them move over to closer to where Beatrice is. I believe that's what they did in the production that I saw, Josh Whedon's film adaptation of Much Ado About Nothing. But if you were just doing like an oral reading or a dramatic reading, or if you were putting it on a stage, it may be a little bit more difficult to perceive that cut, since Hero is the one who is making the statement and then makes the next statement, in that it's a completely different conversation. So those were the problems that I identified in the play. But some important productions of the play included the original production, which was put on by Lord Chamberlain's men. William Kemp played Dogberry and Richard Calley played Vergess. And there was a Tony Award given for Best Performance by Leading Actor in the 1985 production of the play. Some TV adaptations include the 1984 BBC television version. And then a film adaptation, the one that I chose to watch, was the 2013 adaptation directed by Josh Whedon, and a very star-studded cast. And then there's a book adaptation that actually just came out this year in 2018, and the author released it as a young adult novel, and it's an adaptation called Nothing Happened, and Claudio and Hero are portrayed as a homosexual couple, Claudia and Hannah. So I believe that there could be some criticism from that, but I also think that it could be very relevant in today's times, as homosexuality is a very talked about topic in politics and in society. So those were some of the different versions of it, different productions of it. Any critical reception of productions can be found in the link that I added in below. I felt like that specific article was very complex and very hard for me to speak out. It would be easier for you to read, so I just included the link, and you can see the critique that he puts of the play itself, but then also 2 productions of it. So that is the end of my project, so I hope you enjoyed.